We get accused, everybody gets accused of SEC bias. I think this is a classic example.
I think it's having the argument about who's the best conference right now. It's really not that close. The SEC is the best conference.
And welcome to the SEC Grind. This is the inaugural episode, at least I think so. Going to be giving you guys a 2 or 3 episode drop, I think. We'll see how this all works out. If this is the first episode that you're watching, just a quick rundown. This is clearly going to be an SEC football podcast. Going to do some reaction shows, some preview shows. But one of the things that I'm most excited about and what this particular episode is about is going to be kind of a betting advice show. Locks, not necessarily a locks pod. What I'm doing here is just trying to find the edge. So for a good while, I was following Bud Elliott, getting numbers from him on the email list that he would send out. Unfortunately, he decided that he no longer wanted to do that for free, which is completely understandable. But I did not want to pay for the numbers. It seemed counterintuitive to me, and yes, his numbers were profitable, but with the amounts that I play, I'm not playing huge dollar amounts, so it wasn't worth the investment for me anyways, though I will agree that his numbers are pretty good. So I went out searching for some free resources. I looked into trying to create my own numbers, which right now I'm not able to do, but I found some other free resources. 2 that I'm going to go with are the Saragin ratings. That's Jeff Saragin. I think he's on USA Today. If you Google Saragin ratings, NCAA football, he does them for the NFL as well, and maybe the NBA and college basketball. I think there are several on there. But obviously we're going to look at college football, and we're mainly going to focus on the SEC here. If you guys want other numbers, let me know. We'll see if we can expand this a little bit, but for right now we're just going to talk about the SEC. And we're just going to track these sites each week. We're going to see how they do, what their pick against the spread is, what trends we can find, if either one of these sites becomes profitable, and which way we need to go there. So a quick rundown. I've already been tracking this for a couple of weeks. So we started off on week 0. Week 0 was really profitable for the Saragin ratings. These are the spreads that I went with. I guess a quick aside, I am using BetUS. I think it's betus.com.pa is the full website if you want to get on there. I can give you a referral code. They're not a sponsor or anything like that, but that's who I'm using. It could change in the future, but for now, this is what I'm using. These are the spreads I got at the time that I made the sheet here, and try to get them as early as possible. So I'm really trying to compare these to the opening lines. So as you can see, Saragin had an amazing week, 75% in the small sample size of the 8 games that were on week 1, or at least the 8 games that they had ratings for in week 1. OddsShark, not a great week. Moving into week 1, it really wasn't a great week for either of the sites, or for either of the rating systems. So Saragin went 16, 28, and 2 for 34.8%. OddsShark goes 23.9% with 11, 33, and 2. One thing that I'm also looking at is just trying to see when the two systems agree on what the pick should be. What's the record there? And that was not great. 631 and 2 when they agreed. When they disagreed, or were calling it a fight here, this was the only profitable margin when they fought, if you went with the Saragin side on all 15 of the fights last week, then you were profitable, but no way to know that. We'll continue to track that trend and see if that carries over. So we'll go into week 2. Now, obviously, this is a smaller list. Again, we're only going to look at the SEC for today. Again, if you guys want more numbers later on, we can see if we can expand this. We'll see how many people enjoy this, and we'll see how this goes. Another quick note is that Saragin doesn't rate every team out there. And obviously, I don't know how far they dip down. He does rate quite a few teams. It's more than just the FBS, but I think it's just Division I. It doesn't go down. So I'm not sure where the cutoff is, but just so you can see for this week, you don't have the Georgia-Samford game, you don't have the LSU-Southern game, and I think that is it. Is that Ole Miss and Central Arkansas, not rated by the Saragin ratings, so we did not include that here. So what we are going to look at, we'll just go down the list and we'll talk about each of these games. Not really going to give much of a preview. We'll just kind of talk about the line, whether or not I think it's good, and whether or not I took it, and we'll see how that goes. So we'll just start. I've got the SEC schedule pulled up here, so we'll start with that headliner, the big noon kickoff there, Alabama versus Texas. I don't think that really anyone expects Texas to put up much of a fight in this. I mean, I'm sure there are a few people out there. Obviously, you have diehards in every fan base, and maybe there's some people who really believe in Quinn Ewers and think that they can just, win a shootout, because I don't think that defense is stopping Alabama at all. So when it comes to the Saragin ratings, he rated this, or his system rather, his numbers, the math that he uses here, rated this as Alabama being favored by 10.68, so really closer to a 10.5 point spread, maybe 11 if you want to go up that high. But the actual spread in this is still holding at 21. So again, if you are used to, if you are a gambler, which I'm sure you probably are if you're watching this video, you know that you're used to seeing the favorite with the minus, and that's not the way Saragin does it on his ratings, so because that's mostly a copy and paste job in here, I've kept it that way, as well as the number here. So these are how much the favorite is favored by, so just imagine your minus. When you actually do see a minus in this column, it means that the underdog is favored. So I know that can be a little bit confusing, but I will call that out each time and make sure that I clarify that. But for now, just imagine all these numbers with minuses, because this is Mississippi State -3, -4, Arkansas -8, Auburn -18, so on and so forth. And all of these all held the favorite. The favorite on the Saragin rating was also the favorite in the Bet US spread. So we will just continue on with that. So spread is 21 right now. Saragin obviously goes with Texas on that, having what they would consider an 11-point edge here, maybe not 10-point, wherever you want to place that Saragin spread. I don't know about it. OddsShark also picks Texas. So we do have an agreement there between the two rating systems. And just really quick, if you guys have any suggestions for other free services that give a pick, I know there are some more out there. If there's one that you really like or one that you'd like to see compared here, we might be able to add in one or two more and really get a good comparison going throughout the year. But it is a lot of work to go through and grab all of this data to plug in here and compare. So I don't want to go too extensive with like 7 or 8 of these different things, but 1 or 2 more I think I can handle. So if you have one, if we get enough suggestions on one, we'll add it in. But anyways, Texas is the pick for both of these. I actually went the other way. I don't have it marked here, but I actually went late and picked up Alabama, laid the points there, influenced heavily, I think, by Cover 3. If you guys listen to that, I'll give them a shout out here. I love the content over there. Again, I already mentioned Bud Elliott. He was on out the side of Alabama. Says that he thinks they could win by 26. Comically misspoke and said he thinks Texas can win by 26, so you may see that clip out there. But several of the guys were on that one. It's hard to bet against Nick Saban. I got to think at least a portion of fall camp was dedicated to preparing for Texas and Sark. You've seen the whole thing with Saban and his assistants and the streak he had, and that was broken last year. He lost twice. Whether or not you think he listens to that stuff, I guarantee you it's in his head. He wants to make a statement here. I think Bama probably wins big. I'm going to go ahead and roll with Bama, even if it just gets up to 24. But I think 3 touchdowns, I think they can cover it. But if you want to roll with the sites, there it is. I'm mainly doing this just so we can track. And then in the middle of the year, hopefully we've got enough data to say, okay, we're profitable if we go on this side or the other. Because it may end up being that we fade these sites. So we'll continue to go on. But on to the next game of the slate. We have South Carolina and Arkansas. So I'm not going to bet this one. Arkansas did not look great against Cincinnati. I mean, they did handle them. They allowed Cincinnati to hang around in that game, mainly due to a couple of injuries they had on the defensive side of the ball. I think they get one of those guys back. But South Carolina did not look good either. All that preseason hype, and I got to imagine it's pretty quelled at this point. I've got a lot of receipts on some South Carolina fans that I will be dishing out later on. I guess a quick aside, just show you see the blanket back there. Big Gators fan. When it comes to these, I'm going to try to stay just analytical. But when I am making a homer pick or when we get into game previews and things like that, I'll let you guys know when I recognize that I'm being a homer. But for this, I'm going to try to strictly stay to the numbers. But anyway, South Carolina not looking very good just in that week 1 game. Maybe they were looking ahead planning for Arkansas, so maybe that plays into this. I'm not going to touch it. I want to see these two against each other, and I think that'll really give me an idea of where to go going forward. But right now, Saragin and OddsShark both on South Carolina. Very, very narrowly, at least for Saragin, they say that Arkansas should be just over an 8-point favorite, and it's 8.5, so there's not really an edge there. They're pretty close. So I'm gonna stay off it. It looks like it. Arkansas. Saragin is putting it about where Vegas would. Again, I try to get these lines early. This may have moved. So we'll check it out on BetUS. I'm not comparing to other books. If you guys have a book and you want to compare it, it has moved up to 9. So maybe a little bit more of an edge on the South Carolina side if you want to get on that side. But it looks like most of the money is going on Arkansas. I think that's the side I would be on. I just think that they're further along as a program, but I'm not going to play it. Next game on the slate is Wake Forest and Vandy. This one I am actually excited to watch. Wake Forest currently favored by 13. It was at only 10 when I pulled these numbers, and I pulled these kind of late this week, so I imagine it was even lower than that when it opened. The Sam Hartman news has really skyrocketed this line. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference. The backup QB there was playing pretty good. I do think Hartman is worth a couple of points, probably. But Vandy's playing pretty good. They burned me. I did take, if we go back to week 0, I thought I had my numbers a little bit different than this first week. But Hawaii was the favorite on the Saragin spread. Vandy was the actual favorite in the bet U.S. spread, and I hopped all on Hawaii. I put a good chunk on that. I thought that Hawaii would win outright. You don't see a lot of teams of this lower caliber go to the islands and cover a spread. I know that Hawaii had lost a lot, but anyways, Vandy burned me there. I didn't touch their game last week, but they are looking good. Got to be confident, riding high. Know that they need this game before they enter the SEC slate, and potentially don't win again for quite a while, so you know they're going to play hard. So, looking at this, I think Vandy is probably the right side when now that it's up. I may grab this if it continues to climb up. If it gets up to 2 touchdowns, if it climbs over 2 touchdowns, fingers crossed if we can get it up that high, I'm gonna hop on Vandy, and potentially some money to be made on Vandy plus 350 here. That's a pretty good money line for what I think will potentially be a close game. And again, if we're looking at that trend, if you want to call it that yet, the week 1 profitable scenario was when the 2 sides disagreed, take the Saragin side, and they're on Vandy as well. Wake Forest only being an 8.67 favorite, so closer to 9. Not much of an edge there. Obviously, the Saragin spread is purely mathematical. It's not taking into account the Sam Hartman news, so maybe you bump it up a point or 2 for that, and it still only gets you to right where it was when it opened up, or maybe just after it opened up. It doesn't get you all the way up to 13. You still have a field goal edge. I like Vandy there. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. I'm going to try to wait and see what happens tomorrow. Let's see if it goes up any more. Maybe I'll pull the trigger on that. Maybe I take some money line action there. But there you go. On to the next game. We have Mizzou and Kansas State. So I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. Mizzou did not look great last week. Again, maybe that's a scenario where they're looking past their first opponent, trying to get ready for a more serious opponent in that second game. They did not look good. I did not get to see any Kansas State. I don't know what they look like. But Saragin says they should be favored by 9.5. It was only 8 when I pulled the numbers at first. Again, we'll just kind of take the live look at where we are now. If I can get my mouse to work correctly here. We're too far down the slate. What time is this game? It's also a noon game. Let's get up in the slate a little bit more. Here we are. So we're actually all the way down to 7. So we're down a full point. It's moving in into Missouri's favor. So getting more of an edge if you like Kansas State there, I guess. But both sites on Kansas State on this one, they say they should be favored by 9.5. Only 7 now. So you're getting more of an edge for Kansas State. Again, not any good feels here. I want to watch this one. I want to see how they do. Whatever you feel on there, I would stay away from this game. Maybe an underplay there is good. Let's take a quick look. Obviously, these numbers don't account for that. 65 points. Oh, nope, wrong game. 56 points, 56.5. Both could get into the 20s, I think, but I'm staying away. Moving on. Appalachian State versus Texas A&M. Man, you got to look at that App State offense against North Carolina and think that you would think they were just world beaters looking at that score, but that North Carolina defense is just a sieve. How bad is that defense? How good is this offense? I don't know yet. Obviously, those are the kinds of questions you have to ask after just 1 week. We'll see what they look like against this Texas A&M defense. I don't think they're going to score 50, but I think they could get in the 20s, especially late if Texas A&M does get ahead. Let's see where we're at right now. $18.5. It was initially at 18, so it hasn't moved a lot. An extra half point there doesn't really change much. Both sites, both systems on App State here. I don't know where to put that. Texas A&M didn't look super great. You know, they're going to be fine, I think, especially against App State. I don't know if they'll cover 18. Again, it just depends on what you think. The App State defense obviously not great either, so I think Texas A&M is going to score. I think the play in this game is going to be the over, but as far as the side here, I don't think I would touch it. Again, both sides on App State, you go with your feel there, and I think the over is the best play there. I may pull the trigger on that later on myself, actually. Next game on the slate is Tennessee Pitt. This is another one that I am pretty excited to watch. Pitt comes in, believe gets the win last year. Now I'm second guessing myself. Let's just great podcasting, right? Let's take a live look. Tennessee Pitt 2021. Yeah, Pitt did get the win. Actually won some money on that. I know that was that field goal spread, and Pat Narduzzi does not lose against the spread when it is inside a touchdown. So 3.5 to 3.5, that 7-point margin there. Pat Narduzzi almost always wins those, at least against the spread. But we've got a larger spread here. We have Tennessee favored by 6.5. At the time I pulled this, again, we will take a look where we're at now on the book. Too far down again. And we're at 6. So it's actually came down some, getting some action on the Pitt side, it looks like. I did take Pitt at 6.5. I think I would still take Pitt at 6. It's tough to know how this game is going to go. Definitely competing styles. Pittsburgh's going to want to slow it down. Tennessee's going to want to speed it up. Who's going to win out in that battle? Either way, Saragin puts Tennessee as about a 2-point favorite. So everybody's on Pitt there. OddsShark, Saragin. I think this number is going to continue to come down. I don't know at what point I would be on Tennessee. This being in Pitt does, I think, make a difference. So I'm all on Pitt there. I think maybe even some money line action there could be advisable. Plus 180 right now, you can get it. I think there's a good chance Pitt wins this game. I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Tennessee defense. I know Pitt's not as good as they were last year. Different style of offense they're going to be playing, but I still like them in this game. Definitely to cover 6.5. I think I'm still comfortable at 6. I did take that one, and I feel comfortable advising you guys to do the same if you want to get in on that. All right, on down the line, we are skipping over the Georgia game. No line from Saragin. They don't rate. They only give you spreads on 2 teams that they rate. They don't rate Samford, so no spread. So we're going to skip over that. No line in the BetUS book either to show you, so we can't even talk about it. Florida versus Kentucky, obviously, again, a big game for me. Just some notes here, like Kentucky did not look good last week. Again, you got to always think about maybe they're overlooking their opponent, looking forward to the Florida game, knowing that's going to be a big game for them. But everybody was off Florida. Everybody was on Kentucky for this game before the season started. You watch all of the preseason, over-unders for the season totals, and a lot of people were giving Kentucky that win, and now everybody doesn't know. Maybe it is, maybe Utah was overrated now. Now they're trying to find ways to justify this, but Kentucky didn't look good. That offensive line struggled pretty heavily, and I don't think that's something that's going to change if you're overlooking your opponent. Your O-line just doesn't get beat like that, and they were getting beat pretty badly. Florida's defensive line actually played really well against Utah. Go ahead and shout out the Gator Nation Football Podcast. For Gator fans, if you want to check them out, they do a really good film study every week of the Florida game. They have an excellent podcast. One of the reasons I didn't do a Florida-only podcast, because I didn't feel like I could add anything over what they add. Great show. I would advise checking that out. If you're just a football junkie and you like a good film study, the Gator Nation Football Podcast does a good film study of Florida, and you can also see the team that they're playing every week. It's offensive and defensive side of the ball, so really good stuff there. Anyway, in that film study, you see that Florida's D-line beat Utah's O-line several times. It was the linebackers who were not doing their jobs most times, mostly Amari Burney. And it was also that they were outnumbered, usually 4-6 on the front line. So I think Florida's D-line is actually going to eat pretty well against Kentucky here. I think that's going to be a big difference maker. I think Florida wins this one big. I'm going against what Saragin says here. I'm going against probably all of this, the trend again, if that's what you want to call it. It goes against the fight. But sorry about that. But I think that's definitely the right side. Some people might be worried about a hangover. I think Napier is the kind of guy who's not going to let that happen. Those kind of things happen under Mullen fairly frequently, I would say. But I don't think that's going to happen here. I think it's going to be another electric atmosphere in the swamp, and Florida's going to get this done, I think, by double digits. I've already pulled the trigger here. It was at 5 when I got it. It's all the way up to 6 now, I believe. There's been a lot of movement on this line. Let's step down to the 7 o'clock window and take a look. Yeah, it's all the way back up to 6. I think it opened at 6.5, dropped all the way down to 5. Now it's climbing back up. Florida's definitely the right side there. I would be comfortable probably all the way up to like 9.5. And then, I don't know, cause we'll see. Kentucky's missing some players there. I think it could be a blowout, but we'll try to stay a little conservative. But I don't think it's going to get that high anyway. Right now, definitely pull the trigger on Florida. I think that's easy money. Moving down the line, we're skipping over Ole Miss again, not rated with Central Arkansas there. So going to Auburn and San Jose State. This is another one I don't have a great feel on. I don't think Auburn's a good team. I think they have a pretty poor receiving core. Quarterback, TJ Finley doesn't look great out there. So I'm going to say I'm just going to stay away from this one. I don't know anything about San Jose State at this point. So if we're just looking at the numbers and the system picks, San Jose State is the pick there for both. If you guys have a good feel on it, some reason to believe to go with the books here or against them, share that. Let's see really quick if that's moved at all. It's at 24 now, so we are up a little bit there. All right. Next game on the slate, and the last game, Arizona versus Mississippi State. Putting you to bed here for most of you if you're out there on the East Coast, or if you're here on Central Time with me. Late game, 10 p.m. kickoff, 11 Eastern. I'm excited. Lived out in Arizona for a while. Shout out to my boy Tiny, big U of A fan. I know he's got to be loving the direction that program is going right now. Getting that opening win, feeling pretty good about themselves. I don't know if I'm going to touch this game. It was at 11 when I pulled it. We have moved this line, I believe. We're down to 10.5 now. So still very far off from where Saragin said it should be, at around 4 in favor of Mississippi State. I think that's probably closer to where I would put it, just gut feel. Mississippi State, they are who they are. It's a Mike Leach coach team. They're going to run the air raid. I don't know what kind of defense they're going to run out there in Arizona, but I think Arizona's probably the right side. Saragin picks it again. The one of 3 fight situations we've got on the SEC picks here. OddsShark's on Mississippi State. I am not going to touch it. I think this is going to let me know a lot about both of these teams. Kind of, again, one of those where I'm just a wait and see feel. But it should be an exciting game. I think it will be close. I think Arizona's the right side, but I'm not confident enough to pull the trigger. But hopefully all of this comes together. We get the data that we need here. We'll total this all up. I won't be totaling just the SEC. Maybe I will go back actually and pull just the SEC record and see if there's any difference in how they do in the SEC games, just so we can see that trend as well. But I will be giving you the overall totals, the percentages, and things like that, and we will see how these sites do, and we will continue to track this and hopefully find a trend and all make a little bit of money together. Let me know what you guys think. First time doing anything like this, so just trying to fill it out. Hopefully you find something enjoyable here and find some value in this. If you do, please like, subscribe, leave some comments. Let me know any suggestions that you have for adding to this, or whatever you think would help improve the product here, what you want to see on this show. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and until next time, thanks for watching the SEC Grind.